Am I big yet?
Yep, got it.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so I don't know. I thought I would do these flowers that I painted this summer. And
Beautiful.
and my thought is that this way you get to see the finished painting as well as how it started. So you can see that I'm actually telling the truth about how I start paintings to finish them like this. So I don't know, we'll see. Okay, so obviously this was painted outside right in my backyard. Oh, so if you're doing pastels, it's a really good idea to draw this little frame around it so you don't get your great stuff off the edge of the picture. And the nice thing about these clips, which I think you can see, they're called banker's clips. And Sarah bought some at Capital Stationery in Montpelier. The nice thing about them is they're out of the way. I don't have to worry about moving them to cover up a part of my paper. It's really important to be sure if you're spraying your pastels that you cover all the paper before you spray it, because you can't really match the colors after you spray it. So if you leave a big place unsprayed, it you know, you might never able quite get it to look just the same. And the one hand, on the other hand, it doesn't really matter because it's you know, under the frame anyway. So I'm just kind of trying to position these. And you're right, this is, but even when I work from a photograph, it's faster than working in real life because the composition, I've usually already considered and fixed the composition in the photograph. And I did want to say that I wanted to mention this, Jane, is that the photograph you sent me that you painted from, it was so dark. And if it was really that dark, then you probably could have lightened it up in Snapseed, and that might have made it easier to paint from. So part of that whole class was to help you edit your photographs for painting from. Oops. So here's a really bad, stupid thing to do is sort of start around the edges, and then it's better to work kind of across your painting. I mean, I'm trying to position everything at once, but if you try to come in from the two sides, a lot of times what happens is things don't really meet in the middle. And this piece of paper is just slightly bigger than the piece I was working from, or the piece I did the original flowers on. Okay, so you know, even if I was working outside, like right now, like when I originally did this, I would have to be working really fast because the light changes. And sometimes it seems like the light changes even quicker when you're painting something that's really close to you than when you're painting something far away. So, you know, it's always kind of, you're in a hurry. And I can't remember any longer if I worked on this 2 days or just one. I did a few of them, so I just don't know. I don't know. Leslie was there, even though she denies doing any painting since the pandemic started. Okay, so now, like with the flowers, there's sort of some options here. I could do a more careful drawing, and I have certainly painted lots of peonies indoors and outdoors, and I have you know, I sort of have a grip on how they work. And I think if you're like, I used to do a lot of garden scenes outdoors, and I used to think it really helped me that I actually painted bouquets of the flowers inside as well, because it helps you to understand like how the flowers work. Not that I'm not trying not to be braggy here, especially because now I'll probably do a terrible job. But yeah, so either you, like indoors especially, I might do a really careful drawing. Like I used to, really a long time ago, when I would do sunflowers or something, I would really count the petals, and I would try to have every petal exactly where it was. But something like this outdoors is more casual. So it seems to me either you draw it really carefully and paint it casually, or you draw it casually, but then you have to focus more on the drawing the whole time you're painting. So when I'm doing flowers, either I could, since I'm not working on white paper, But those of you who don't know, you should never do something like this on white paper because it's hard to cover up the charcoal. So I could, if I wanted to, I could come in here and put the shadows on the flowers with my charcoal. And usually I choose not to do that because the other option is just to pick up a pastel that would be a pastel that would be a good start for the color. I'm still good, right? Yeah, you can still see me. If anybody, if at any moment I like kick my camera or something, you should tell me. So I can start with the color and I can just put yeah, draw in a way the shadows in with the color. And the reason I'm starting, like a lot of times I start with the lightest light, but the reason I'm starting with the shadows now is that if I get the shadows kind of in the wrong place, it's not such a big deal. I'll be able to cover them up and make them lighter again, because the thing about pastels is that it's easier to get light over dark than dark over light. So this way, if my shadows aren't quite in the right place, it's not a big deal because I'll just make them lighter later. And the other thing about pastels, and it seems like it's with everything, it's certainly also true of glaze for clay, is that red is it's a difficult color to make, evidently. So one of the problems with the pastel reds is they're very hard. And so what I do is I always, you can't start some other weird color and then put red on top. If you're using a red, you just have to go for it and start with the red. So you can't say, oh, that's a bluish red. I mean, you could, but then you never really have a red. And if you want to add anything to it later, do it after, not first. So that's why the red started pretty red. Also, I mean, I don't actually spend very much time looking for my pastels. I do have them kind of loosely organized, and I did put them away at the end of last class. And here's the rest of them. So I have them organized by color, but I, I, I mean, I do need to have them in the same, like I always have the boxes in the same exact places so I can find stuff, but I don't, I'm actually trying not to sort of know what colors I'm planning to use. And I don't spend a whole lot of time picking my colors. And I can't decide if that's just from experience or if I'm just not spending a lot of time, because I feel like you could spend all day trying to pick your colors, but then you don't know how they're going to look until you put them on there anyway. So what's the point of dithering? So I just pick something up and I try it. And a lot of times, even if it's not perfect, I'll just go ahead and use it anyway. I used to actually not even organize my pastels because or kind of spend much time cleaning them, because I had this idea that if I picked up that would help me pick up things that were unexpected. But now I've moved on from that lazy position. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in all these the leaves, and I'm going to treat it the same way. I'm going to put in the leaves dark to start with, and then I'll come back and put light on top of them. And that's because, you know, I didn't really draw them. I kind of forgot all about them, in fact. So, and you know, I always have to make the disclaimer, it's easier to paint when you're not talking. I guess I shouldn't sigh so much since I have a microphone right by my face. Yeah, I do. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so basically I just like to get things covered pretty much right away, and then I can then I know what's going on. I feel like I'm kind of painting in the dark until I get all that going, because what I'm really painting is the relationships between the colors. And so until I have something to compare things to me, there's also no point in getting too excited about making things perfect. And in fact, even if I had the most perfect color, I would really not want to use it right away. Um, if it's reverberating too much, somebody needs to mute, just saying. Um, okay, so So now I'm just going to put in the background, and my peonies happen to have a background of really dark. Well, that wasn't the really dark one. Really dark. I guess they're some sort of yew trees or something, maybe. So it was kind of great that I had this dark background there to work against even outside, because obviously if you have a really dark background, it makes your lights stand out more. Okay, I'm not making all those noises, but maybe you guys don't hear them as well. I just hear them in my headphones. Okay, you know what? I think it would be better if this one right here was a red one too. So why not? I'll just make it a red one. And you know, when I drew this, I can tell you for sure that these flowers were not exactly positioned like this, that I moved them around in my mind, and I cut out a few leaves. And but if you're painting someone else's peonies, they might not appreciate that, but since they were mine. Okay, so I started with pink, and I'm just going to add a little yellow to it. And if you want to think of it this way, it's a sunny day, a bright sunny day, and so yellow is the color of sunlight. So I can make these look more sun drenched by putting yellow in. But God, I would hope that I'm not just painting a formula. That to me is kind of the antithesis of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just look and see what's there. But it is true, when I look at this painting that I've already done, I can see what I did. So, but this is pretty much how this painting would have started. So how do I not have enough pinks? What are you? Yeah, so like I say, I try not to think too much. I just try to sort of react to what I'm seeing there. And then all the time I'm thinking better or worse. Is what I'm doing now better or worse? And I actually don't think I had any green in here. And I'm thinking maybe the word for that is possibly worse. So let's just try a blue. And yeah, I am kind of, I'm doing a stroke that I'm hoping is kind of suggestive of the shapes of the petals and the fact that there's a lot of texture in there. I'm not doing just sort of the everything painted with the same kind of stroke. Maybe I plan to use you in the lights on maybe that's why I picked up that color. Another thing about a sunny day is that the contrast is really strong. So all these things I mentioned should not be taken as just literal fact. They're just things to remember. If you're having trouble and you can't make something look sunny, then what you want to do is consider having more value contrast, more difference between the light and dark, and also this idea of having more contrast between warm and cool colors, with the lights being warm and the shadows being cooler. And on a sunny day, you actually have two light sources. One is the sky and the other is the sun. So that makes it a lot different than painting indoors, where you usually, I mean, I am endeavoring when I'm painting indoors from real life to only have one light source so that there's no confusion about it. But what that does mean when on a sunny day is that you tend to have more like the lights, the shadows are lit up by the sky, and that makes them a little more blue. Oh, Sarah, now can anybody still see me, or did I just disappear?
No, I can see you.
Okay, good. Because all I can see is the thing that says Sarah's iPhone. Okay.
That
If
happens.
if
no, I
everyone
can
could
see you.
mute, if
Yeah,
everyone could mute themselves, then we wouldn't hear all this background stuff that keeps coming up.
yeah, it's kind of bugging me too, because I can hear it right in my headphones. So, okay.
Janine, is it possible to tilt the camera in such a way that we see the bottom of the drawing you're working on?
Oh, you can't see it. Okay, let me
We can
try.
see most of it. Maybe it's not possible. Whoops,
No, it
that's
probably
worse.
is.
Go back where you were. It
No,
was
it's-
better before.
I know, but I'm in the middle of moving it, so
Oh, okay.
cheese
Thank you.
and crew. Um, I guess Jim was not perfect here. Okay, wait, now if I move it, nope, I have to keep going that way. I had to turn my computer on backwards. So my computer is actually backwards to what I'm seeing, so that you guys would see it forwards. Okay, wait, if I stop here and I come this way, okay, now you can see it, right?
It's beautiful.
Okay, good. I also have this other little light going now that's a warmer color. So I'm hoping, I didn't buy the one Jane bought. I bought a cheaper one. So I don't know if it's as good as Jane's. Okay, so I haven't used any white yet. I just picked up a white, but I'm going to resist that urge. Okay, so I'm going to, I picked up a light blue. So the thing is, once I've used my white, that's kind of the end. I've hit the highest note I can hit with my lights. So, oh, I know what I was getting ready to do before I lost track of what I was going to do this. I was going to make this darker. So I have big hopes that maybe by next week, I just couldn't do it this week, but next week is winter break. So I have big hopes because that I got the guy at school to set up a thing on my computer. So I think I can use my Canon camera, and I think that might make a better color in my picture. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, now I can't see my pastels anymore. And I have nowhere to put them where I can see them. And I never drink my coffee. It's a nightmare here. Okay. Okay, here's the greens at least. So what are you? You're a blue. I just kind of want to get the background kind of really under control. And another thing probably notice, it's just the same old problem I've had all my life, is that those teachers I studied with, my early teachers, they didn't want you to come up to the edges of things because they said then you'd be focusing on drawing rather than color, and that the best thing for humans to do was to separate, like when you're working on drawing, work on drawing, when you're working on color, work on color, and not try to do two things at once. Okay, no, let's see. So yeah, and I talked to somebody, but I think it's somebody that's not actually in this class. It's really weird when I can't get anyone to do the least bit of homework for me at school, even though they're getting grades, but then other people who are not in school call me up and ask me for homework. So yeah, so I was saying, oh, and I think I said this to Judy too, that if you're having trouble getting started with stuff, then a really cool thing to practice on is setting up a still life that has a bunch of things that are very close to the same color. And what made me think of this is that obviously I have used the exact same color on all my little white flowers. And now I'm using white in case you can't tell. But you know, I don't know, they all do look kind of, I guess now there are some that are a little different, but yeah, so setting up a still life that has a bunch of stuff that's very similar in color really gives you a chance to work on really subtle differences between color. I was looking at some, well, Daryl, my friend Daryl, gave me a subscription to the Pastel Journal. So I was looking yesterday at all the winners, and wow, there's amazing stuff, I'll tell you. And then I was thinking, why aren't I amazing? Because that's, of course, the first thing I think of. I realized, I used to do paintings like that where I was really, kind of showing off, like I was trying to prove my skill set, and I guess now I don't know, evidently I don't care anymore. But those really complicated still lifes and those floral paintings that were like um, every single petal and stuff, I used to do that. Yeah, okay. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, I have 4 minutes. Okay, this is when I say, oh no, I guess I get to have 8 minutes, right? Because we chatted for 4 minutes and people tried to figure out what the heck was happening. But if somebody has something they think they want to see me do before I'm done for the moment, they could bring it up now. Good, you think it's perfect?
Can you just tell us what colors you're using? Like, sometimes it's hard to tell, like right now.
It's kind of a pink, kind of an orangey pink. So the colors, see, I wish the colors were better. That's my biggest complaint about this camera. And so then I went and looked up color cameras with the most accurate color, and they were like $2,000. So then I thought, that's what made me think, oh, maybe I could hook up my digital camera to it. And so, yeah, so maybe
And can
somebody.
you tell us what the lights were last? I forget whose lights they were last week that you said were really good for painting on.
Well, I don't know about painting under. This is what I bought, and I bought it because it had the little tripod with it. I didn't really want the thing suctioned to the back of my computer. And I'm using it now to light my painting a little bit, but it might not, I don't think it's quite as bright as the one Jane had. So so if I was just trying to light up the room to paint from, I just use a clamp lamp with just well, I just got this warmer bulb up above my head too, and I kind of like that. Oh, and I forgot to turn up the warmth on my other light, because I feel like the camera does things, makes them a little cold. Okay, so now I've got just a big mush here, so I could come back and try to redraw a little bit so I could figure out where, oh, I'm going to draw really dark, which I wouldn't do, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So you can always firm up your drawing with your charcoal. One thing I saw, I think it was Jane's picture, which I thought you did a great job, Jane, considering how little instruction you've had and how good you've gotten at oil painting. I thought really showed, but you outlined your stuff in that dark charcoal, and maybe that was just you're doing what I'm doing now, and you were going to come back and redraw. But I think if you're going to outline and leave it, you want to go the way of Gauguin. Look, see, now it's funny, I couldn't see this before I outlined it, but now I realize I let my shadows get too light on my flower. Anyway, so you might consider outlining but using a color, but you should know that outlining always pops things forward. So the kind of outlining I try to do, cannot find a white. How can it? Oh, here's one. Okay. The kind of outlining I like to do is I might take my white and outline this flower just to make a hard edge there. But I don't usually, although sometimes, I don't usually outline with something I don't see there. So sometimes I felt like I could actually see like a little outline of another color right on the edge, like the color between the colors or something. But Gauguin, he outlined a lot of stuff, and his followers evidently outlined everything. And they usually seem to use cobalt blue.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if anybody saw that show up in Montreal a long time ago of Gauguin.
Huh.
and his followers, but it was really good. But the problem was they'd actually printed the banner upside down. But they were not that excited to have me tell them that.
So one of the things I experienced, Janine, is I really don't like the pastels because they're not soft enough. They're sort of hard.
What ones did you, oh, you know what? You're just gonna have to buy the more expensive paper, I guess.
Well, I also bought more pastels. Carol recommended Rembrandt. They just haven't arrived yet.
Okay. What did I recommend?
What you recommended, Blick, was out of stock.
Oh,
So I went to the drawing board and bought. I don't know, I bought a set for $30.
oh, well, yeah, sorry about that.
It's all right.
I'm shocked that I didn't have Rembrandts on my list, but I'm probably trying to, you know, you just can't save money on art supplies because you pay for it. All right, you guys. So do you have any last, oh, I'm out of my picture again, aren't I? Any last things you want to, I hope you can see it better than I can, but all I can see is a 1-inch square.